absolutely. I was trying to have our students in the background because I don't know if you can see it. Probably not. That's okay. I
It's okay.
was like, let me be in the boardroom where you can see our students behind me, but I'm blocking them with my head. So sorry. There we
So,
go.
this is my social and multimedia analytics class, and they told us that we have to study the social media work of a nonprofit. And I immediately was like, ding ding,
Yeah. You
that's
know it
easy.
well.
So I told him, I was like, okay, I'm able to kind of analyze the social media footprint, and he wants us to do a long, comprehensive report on the history of the organization and just where you guys are looking to move forward with your digital footprint. That's what we're going to be
Okay.
talking about today.
Okay,
I'll
fantastic.
go ahead and get into it. So my first question, I just want to talk about the organization's history. How did it get started? What are some of the founding principles? Which I
Yeah.
know, but to hear you
Yeah,
say it.
no, absolutely. So in 2009, our founder and CEO, Robin Roberts, was talking with some of his people in the industry, and they were saying that they've been so fortunate to have had mentors and professionals in the past give them that final push or that encouragement or that connection or whatever they needed to help their careers, and how they have been fortunate to be successful in the industry and now want to give back. So how can they do that? So that's from that idea that foundation was born. And it sort of serves two purposes. It's to give a push and to those students who needed a final financial push or an introduction, a networking, some sort of connection to help them in their career, but it's also paying it forward to the industry because we want to make sure that these young aspiring professionals who are so talented have that connection that brings them into the industry. It only helps us be stronger, right? So it's a giving back and a paying it forward. And this year, so this is our 16th year, and we're going to hit a major milestone as a foundation this year. We will have reached over 1,000 students once we welcome our finalists to Washington in June. So we are super excited about that. So it's sort of the theme of our year that we're, 1,000 plus strong and just growing. Robin often shares a story about how he was speaking with, excuse me, one of the board of director members when they were first starting, and he was asked, "What is your goal?" And he said, when we look back, I hope that we can say that we helped 100 students. And here we are 16 years later, and we're over 1,000 students. So our mission is to create scholarships, networking opportunities, and educational programming. So obviously scholarships are huge. My youngest, I think I shared this with you before, but my youngest just graduated from college in May. And yes, yay. So I am very familiar with how expensive school is and how a struggle it is for so many to pay those high tuition costs. So financial support is huge. But more than that, you need that networking and those connections and that mentoring to help you take your education and what are you going to do with it now, right? So we want to give all of that. The financial support is huge, but that extra piece, I think, is what sets us apart from other scholarships and other foundations. Because a check, like I said, is wonderful, but that extra help, I think, is what makes us unique. Yep. So that's a short, brief
Beautiful.
history.
So the theme of this year is 1,000 plus strong. Is that
Right.
what the title of the theme is this year too?
So that's the theme that we'll be working into our award celebration and our events when the scholars are here in DC. Yeah.
Okay, got it,
And
got
then
it,
we
got
have
it.
also, before we even recognized that we were hitting that, I mean, we sort of knew it, but before we really thought like, wow, this is something we should highlight. We started a social media campaign with the hashtag WMSF Impact. And we've been asking our alumni, I'm sure you've seen that. I'm sure I reached out to you and asked about that to post things with that hashtag so that we can start tracking, because, this is our 16th year. So some of the alumni are in very established careers by now, right? They've been in the industry for a while. And so it's very cool to see where are they now and what have they done, and how is the help that they got back in their college career, the support that we gave them, how has that helped impact their career, what have they learned through their experiences with us.
And with that hashtag, can I use it on like my post about other stuff?
Sure. Yeah, if you feel like
Okay,
there's somehow we've helped you, in any impact in anything you're doing, absolutely.
okay. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so if I were to ask you, what your analysis or what your kind of overview of your social media footprint is of where it is right now, how would
Mm.
you describe it?
I would say growing exponentially. You know what? Well, as a small nonprofit, we have a even smaller marketing budget. So our organic social media is huge for us. We do small amounts of paid social media when we get close to an event. But for the most part, our organic social media is huge. When I started with the foundation in 2022, I think we had 230 some Instagram followers, and now we're almost at 760. So the amount of followers is growing, which is very important for us. You know, our LinkedIn followership list is huge, but the Instagram is just really growing. And we're also increasing a lot of interactions. And you know, in the past we'd have a lot of impressions. People were looking, but nobody was interacting with anything that we were doing. And so that's been our goal in the last 2 years, is to increase that, and that has really improved. So this is the way that we reach through Instagram. Our reach is aimed towards students, and our LinkedIn reach is aimed towards professionals, sponsors, faculty. So, you know, so they're both equally important, but they serve a different purpose, right? Because of the way, and I think that now part of what's helping that is that, you know, this is our 16th year. We've helped so many students. We've been in so many schools that I think we have a lot of credibility now. When you're first starting out, you know, people wonder, what is this foundation really about? Is it legit? Are they really helping? You know, that kind of thing. And I think that now we've proven ourselves through our, you know, 16 years of history and what we've accomplished. I think we now have some credibility that helps.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. That's what I love to hear. Audience cater to each social
Right.
media platform. I think that's really helpful too. So are there any organizations or are there any inspirations that you guys kind of look at when it pertains to social media? Is there anything that you kind of look at and you're like, oh, this nonprofit is doing really good on social media. We should kind of aim for theirs, or you look at other platforms and like, we shouldn't do that and things like that.
Yeah, there's definitely shouldn'ts. But I've well, the only nonprofit I would say that we looked to was more for our website development, not necessarily our social media, and that was the Horatio Alger Foundation. That's a local foundation. They're much larger than us. But I was really inspired by the way that they had their website organized, because 2 years ago we totally revamped our website. Because it was, you know, many years old. And when we would add new programs or new content, we were just sort of building on, building on, building on, building on. And I would compare it to, like, if you buy a house and then you add a room and then you add a room and then you add a room, you can't really get through the house, right? It was all very separate. And that's kind of what our website was like. So 2 years ago, we revamped the entire website. And so we used the Horatio Alger Foundation's website for our inspiration for that. I really like the way they had that organized. So if you're ever to look at our website and theirs, I think you can see the inspiration that we got. But I feel like on social media, especially Instagram, I think we take more of our inspiration from what the colleges are doing, because we're trying to reach college students. So we look at their group pages and we see what they're doing, because that's effective. We know that you know, they have their pulse on what's going on with college students on campus. So that's sort of what we emulate. Like, for example, a good example is this year we instituted something called our social media ambassadors, which is 100% an idea that came from our current social media intern, and looking at other schools' social media websites. They have them to promote their campus. So why can't we do the same thing to promote our foundation on different campuses?
Perfect, 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 perfect. I love that. And I also think that's really helpful as well because I know like I was probably well not the first one for Hampton University, but I was the first one that was a media scholar or fellow at Hampton University that would tell people like, hey, it's coming
Mhm.
out, apply, like come
Right.
on. And then that's how my little trend applied. And then
Right.
Kiana applied, and then all
Right.
these people that like I really loved or my best friends started applying, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is great. Like this is exactly
That's
like
huge. That's
how it
huge for us.
happens. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So yes,
So you were an
that's beautiful.
unofficial social media ambassador. I mean,
Yes.
obviously you were a social media intern, but I mean, yeah, that's exactly what we're asking our ambassadors to do, and posting
Yes.
on our social media content. Like, not driving interactions too. Like if we post something, we ask them to answer the poll or comment or like. I mean, that's that because that just generates more, but also to start creating their own content that they can say, here I am, like Trinity shared with me that she and some other media fellows from Hampton will be in DC this weekend for the NABJ. I guess it's a conference. And she said, "Oh, I'm going to get the media fellows together and we're going to take a picture. We're going to do something with our swag wall." Like that's exactly what we need. And then all of the groups that she's involved in, they'll see it. And then the other groups that they're involved in will see it, right? And it's just a ripple effect, which is
Yes,
so
the
important
spider
for us.
web. I'm
Yes.
so proud of Trin. I'm so proud of her.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see if there's anything else I think I can talk about. Are there any other platforms that you guys are kind of looking into despite instead of Instagram and LinkedIn, like maybe TikTok or Twitter or YouTube or anything like that? Or are you guys just kind of focused on Instagram and LinkedIn?
We do have a X account, Twitter, but we don't use it very effectively, and that's something I think we can improve on, especially since we're asking them to sponsor us. So we probably should use their platform a little bit more effectively. We do have a YouTube. We don't post on that very much, but this summer, once we get through Media Scholars Week, our next big project is we're going to start incorporating podcasts into our sort of our repertoire. We have an idea of potential guests and topics, and our podcast will reach college students, sponsors, people in the industry. Like we may have somebody come and talk that industry leaders want to hear from and college students want to hear from. So, and so we may incorporate some of that into our YouTube. But right now we don't use any of those other platforms very effectively. But I think that there's potential. TikTok, um, that one's a challenge for me. I think that I'm not really sure how applicable that is to us. Um, I've asked my daughter before because she was in college when I was starting all of this. How do you think that TikTok could be used by our foundation? And she warned me. I said she said you have to be very careful because TikTok can be a turn off if you don't use TikTok the right way as an organization. So you have to be very careful how you do it. So we haven't really attacked TikTok. But I mean, they're all opportunities for us, right? But for now, we've just been focusing mainly on Instagram. And we are on Facebook as well. Everything that we do on Instagram goes onto Facebook. We don't target that or analyze that very much, but I know that for me, that's a social media platform that more of my generation uses than college students. But parents are on TikTok, so they may see something and say, hey, tell their child, hey, I saw this opportunity on my Facebook rather. So go check that out and see maybe it's something you can apply for. So that's primarily what we use.
Perfect. And then I guess that brings me into my last question, which would be, is there anything about your social media that, well, you kind of already answered it, but that you're looking to improve or anything that you would like to change or kind of a goal that you would like to see the foundation be in the next 5 years on social media?
Mm. Well, one challenge that we have with social media is the way that we're using it is that we don't necessarily retain a lot of followers. Like if you look at our follower number, it's going to say 750 some, I think today, because I might stalk that daily, but it might be, I think it's like 754 now, let's say. That's not an accurate um, assessment of how many followers we gain because we also lose. So what ends up happening is college students follow our Instagram and then they graduate. And if they're not directly impacted by one of our programs, then they'll just stop following us. Um, and so we need to be more connected to student groups. I mean, students are important too, but we need to be more connected to universities and student groups that where they're not going to, drop off. So I would like to see us do that. And so, yeah, and I think that the goal is just to continue to grow and be creative. I mean, this year we've instituted some new things. We're using social media, our Instagram stories more than we have in the past, and trying to do interactive things like polls and ask questions and giveaways. I struggle a little bit with the contests because they're fun, but I want to be careful that we don't look like we're buying followers. You know what I mean? Like I don't want it to seem like, oh, yeah, we're going to offer you an Amazon gift card if you'll follow us because we're desperate for followers. But I do want to entice people to check us out. So I struggle a little bit with how to make that work, if that makes sense. I don't want us to seem desperate, but I do want to encourage people to participate. So we've been doing trivia contests. We've done 2 now and sending them some swag, the winner's swag instead of, something like a gift card or anything like that, because then that benefits us. Then hopefully they're wearing it around campus and people say, what's that? Or they take a picture of themselves unboxing or wearing it or whatever, and that gets some attention. So, but yeah, I mean, we're growing. And we're also trying to reach more students from different schools. Like we have a lot of schools that participate every year, and that's fantastic. We love those schools, we love those professors, but we want to reach more schools and have more buy-in from other professors. So that's something that I would like to see. We have a lot of diversity in students and universities when you look at our media fellows, but not as much in media scholars. And so that's kind of been a personal goal of mine since I've been here. This is my 3rd class of media scholars since I joined the foundation, and I'm just trying, but what's tricky is we don't have any scholarships designated for any specific group of students. Like we don't have any scholarships for students of color or minorities or anything like that. Everything is just even. Everything is a blind application. So whoever's reviewing the media fellows or the media case competition submissions, they don't know who the students are. They don't know their background. It's all blind. So we don't have any directed scholarships, but we are trying to have some directed outreach, if that makes more sense, so that more students from those schools will participate because we've shared our information with them, as opposed to having a scholarship that's directed towards a specific group of students.
And I know I said that was my last question, but what
No,
you
it's
said
okay.
just
That's
dinged
all good.
another question into me that my professor also wants us to talk about, research about. DEI is like a huge thing that's going on in the country with these corporations and businesses. Nonprofits kind of have a um, leg up to kind of just do what they want. Like we can implement the DEI if we want, or we can implement it or not. It doesn't have to be DEI, but just the principles of, searching for diverse students or
Mhm.
kind of like you said, which kind of piqued my mind about it, the scholarships aren't necessarily catered toward those groups, but you want that directed outreach toward those groups. Is that something that's important to WMSF?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, that's been a goal of mine since I came to the foundation. And it's a little bit of a challenge because we are a small nonprofit. I mean, I'm almost a one-woman show. We have tons of volunteers in the industry that help, but I do everything from organize the events to the outreach. I mean, I just kind of do everything. So it's very grassroots. For example, 2 years ago, our social media, we had not a social media intern, we had a spring intern who was here for the weeks leading up to Media Scholars Week and then that Media Scholars Week. And one of the things I had her do was literally sit down with her laptop and do a Google search of all HBCUs that have a media, journalism, government, and any of those related majors. Research all the HBCUs that have those majors, then go to that department's website and look for all the names, who are the deans, who are the professors, and create a distribution list for me so that I can outreach them. Now, what happens is I'm not sure if I make it to their inbox. I might get lost in their spam, right? Or they may look at it and be like, oh, this is just another, somebody's looking for me to do something for them or give something to them. So now that we're gaining more credibility and more, I don't want to say notoriety, that's not quite the word, but we're more known. Hopefully that grassroots kind of outreach will be more effective because they'll say, wait, I've heard that. I saw something about that on Instagram or on LinkedIn, or yeah, one of my professor friends at this school has mentioned that they're student, like that kind of thing. So it's a lot of grassroots outreach. But again, we did give some consideration to that when we were choosing our social media ambassadors. What schools do we really want to try to target to get more involvement? So what media fellows do we have at those schools? Or who, for example, if one of our media fellows, or most of our ambassadors are media fellows, not media scholars, but are they an Emma Bowen fellow? Maybe it would be good to have them because then when they post, all the other Emma Bowen fellows who are following them are also seeing it and then spreading the word to their campus. So we try to do directed outreach in that way. But I think that would
Beautiful.
really only be the way that D&I applies to us because we don't have really any hiring practices or any choosing practices. Like I said, like the reviewers are blind. I mean, I was redacting their submissions before the judges, so they don't always see, what school they are, or We don't want to have any biases in that way. Um, in Trinity, for example, is our current social media intern, right? So obviously I can't review her application because I'm biased. Or we have a couple media fellows from this last round whom I've interviewed before and spoken with before and lined up mentors with that are semifinalists. Well, there can't be any bias from that, right? So we have a diverse group and when I say diverse, I mean in different areas of media, 7 judges who reviewed all 25 of the submissions and rated them so that we have, try to give, because some of our students are more journalism focused, some are more sales focused. What we want it where they're being judged based on what was this one submission, not what their backgrounds are or what their goals are. But if their case was the best, then they get to come to DC.
Beautiful. I believe I have everything that I need.
Okay.
A part of our project is to create like a content creation package and
Oh,
a social media strategy
oh,
to present
fantastic.
to the class and everything. So when I finish that, because I have so many ideas that I didn't get to
Yeah.
do or I was thinking about, I'll completely send that entire presentation to you if you want to
If
take a
you,
look at it or anything like that.
absolutely. No, I would love to see it. And then
Yes, thank you
speaking of
so
that
much.
content creation, I just had a working lunch with Robin prior to our meeting, and we're putting together a video for the awards luncheon. And
Mm,
part of that video is asking past fellows and scholars to create a quick video clip that we can incorporate into this presentation. So I'd love
yeah.
it if you would consider, and I'll send you an email with the information, how you can upload just a quick video, my name, this is how the foundation has impacted me. And when I say quick, I mean really quick, like 30 seconds quick, because we have to
Yes.
compile
Okay.
them all together. But I would love
Okay.
to, if you do that, or if you do a post, we're also going to be taking some of these hashtag posts that I mentioned from our social media accounts and incorporating them into the video. So anything that put there, then we can use that, because I think that you do a good job of promoting our program on your own, so I would love to incorporate your thoughts into that video. So I'd love to have you share.
Yes. Of course. And what I always do as well in the bottom of my post, like when I thank like people
Mhm.
with something, I always mention WMSF. I'm gonna start tagging WMSF when I
Yeah,
do
I'd love
that
that.
too.
Yeah,
And like using a hashtag whenever I,
that's
put you
fantastic.
guys in any of my posts too. And that'll be great because I'm gonna have makeup on in a couple days, so I can knock out that video. I can knock out that video and submit it very quickly
No, I
too.
think you look fantastic. I wouldn't even worry about the makeup. Yeah, you look amazing.
Thank
You're
you so
you're on
much,
it.
Tori.
Yeah. Well, all right. So
I really
hopefully I will hear
appreciate
from you
you.
again on that perspective, and I'll send you that email in the next day or so because I'm going to be doing some directed outreach to people for that.